Football fans and those looking to push themselves to the next level, this is the show for you. With the NFL draft right around the corner, we are bringing on a star wide receiver who is training right here in Tampa for the big day. Shed Jackson finished up pro day with the fastest 40 in the 2023 NFL draft. Shed, it's good to see you again, and thank you for coming on That Entrepreneur Show.
Yes, sir. That's all love. I appreciate you for having me today, man.
I look forward to connecting with you again. Me and Shed met out to dinner recently with our friends Sterling Sheffield and Kristen, and now here we are talking about his journey, shedding light on all the great work he does. And this Auburn University star hails from Birmingham, Alabama. He went to Hoover High School, where he found success in his football career. That led him to the opportunity to play for Auburn University for 5 years. We have a great show ahead of us, and if it's everyone's first time with us today, this is That Entrepreneur Show, the podcast meant for high achievers and those looking to obtain new levels of success. I have released at least one interview per week since 2019, so be sure to check out another one that fits you after today's release. You never know which show will resonate with you most, and I mentioned Sterling Sheffield, how we met today. His incredibly inspiring journey is on there too, so be sure to check that out. But for today, Jackson graduated with a degree in supply chain management. A little more about Shed. He grew up with his mother and 3 younger brothers who look up to him. He's got a dog that's 1 year old, just got him in his last year in college. He does it all, but stick around to the end for this week's Spotlight story. It's going to be a great one, and since we have a star football player and college graduate with us today, we're going to discuss an article titled 5 Lessons That Football Can Teach Entrepreneurs. But no more wait, let's kick it off. Why did you become a football player first as a kid, Shed? What led you to this journey?
I just always had that competitive nature about me at a young age, and I think when I moved back to Birmingham from Huntsville, I got into football just from competing with people around there. Football is just, they're all about football with the pedigree that Hoover High School has and that area. So yeah, I just got into it and haven't looked back since.
Were you always wide receiver, or did you start out at something different?
Mainly wide receiver. I played a little bit of DB, played some safety, some corner here and there, but yeah, just mainly receiver.
You like being on the offensive side of the ball?
Love being on the opposite side of the ball.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to now learning. What do you consider some of your strongest parts of your game? You're heading into draft day. All the teams are looking at you. You had the fastest 40. What are some of the strongest parts of your game?
Obviously, the speed is one thing. That's one component. So a lot of times I have DBs thinking about that. They know I can run past them. They know I can stop on a dime. But I feel like I'm a versatile receiver just from having the size that I have. Also being able to finesse like a smaller receiver and at the same time be physical like a big receiver. So that's just some of the things I bring to the table.
You mentioned that speed. That was always something you had, or that's something you really worked towards when you got to the college level?
That's just something I've always had. Growing up, people wanted to race all the time. I rarely lost a foot race. So yeah, that's been something I just was blessed with.
Absolutely. Well, you've been preparing a lot for the league. I mentioned he's down here in Tampa. That's how we linked up originally. What are some of your favorite parts of preparing for the NFL draft, the NFL season?
Some of my favorite parts about just being down here and training really was just working with pros, working with guys that have done it, continue to do it, and just showing me the way, just chopping it up with them and learning ways to be pros because really everybody sees the success on the field, but they don't know like the stuff that goes on in the off season and all that type of stuff. So yeah, just learning from them and getting better every day.
Made a lot of great points there. Learning from people who have been there before, striving for improvement each day. Those are important all the way around. But one thing I learned about Shed in our conversations was he is a lover of reading. I always like to find out, what is one book you can recommend for our community of entrepreneurs who are tuning in today?
I've been reading a couple lately, just I've had a little extra time since I got out of college. But for entrepreneurs, I would say a book would be 10X by Grant Cardone. Um, Sterling actually put me on that book. I want to say when I met him like 2, 3 months ago. So I've been reading that. Basically, it's self-explanatory. Just it's about massive thoughts and massive actions. Just doing the things that other people won't do. putting in more amounts of work. And I think that really relates either way. If you're an entrepreneur, athlete, especially at this level, you have to be able to work and be able to do things that other people won't. So um, that's a great book to read.
Thinking big, thinking ways to grow. We always want to hit that next level of success, and sometimes books are just a way to do that. I know this guy on the show today might be having a sneak peek, a little book coming your way. So stick around so you can learn more about his journey behind the scenes. But we talked about some of your favorite parts of prepping for the league. I'd love to find out what were some of your biggest takeaways from Pro Day.
From Pro Day, just working with the scouts over there and really people that have been in the pros and they know what they look like, they know what they want, and just having that attention to detail while you're working, whether you're tired, whether you have people on the sidelines watching you just do routes on air, receiver drills, 40, it doesn't matter. Like I had a packed house in the weight room watching me bench, jump, doing all that stuff. So um, having that around, having that kind of pressure, I guess I would say, you just have to know how to deal with it, know how to focus your mind, slow things down, and go back to your preparation, go back to what you know what to do.
Love that right there. Going back to what you know how to do, having that confidence, knowing you can push forward. It's been a light out episode so far. You've been really spitting out a lot of value here that can translate right into the business world for anyone who needs to continue to push themselves. We've talked about all the bright spots of preparing for the league, but there are also challenging areas for sure. What are some of the challenging parts you find of playing football at such a high level, things you're now turning into strengths?
Yeah, so I would say playing in the SEC, one of the biggest things is you have guys every week that are really good, like just like you. So it doesn't matter if you're a freak athlete or not. You have to have that technique down week after week. You have to study film, time management, all things that are relatable, whether it's once again talking about sports or business and entrepreneurs. So I would say that's one of the biggest things.
I want to take you back now to freshman year. It was a little while ago. You mentioned time management. What was one of the ways you were able to get that time management skill to where you needed to be? I know coming out of high school, that's not easy, especially in a conference like the SEC.
Yeah, man. Freshman year, it was I think I didn't get my time management done the right way until after freshman year. Like that whole year, I was just scrambling. You know, you go to classes all morning, and then you had a long practice or long meetings. So it's a lot, and the work after obviously is different for school wise. So um, really just getting that stuff down, get a rhythm for it, and just learning it. One thing that helps, like I said before, is talking to people who've done it, getting pointers for them, getting advice from people because other people really help you out. So that's one of the ways I learned how to do it.
I love that. Something I always try to be more mindful of is asking for help, asking for advice, because that is one way we improve. And now I think it is a great time to get into the spotlight story before we find out which entrepreneur he would sit down with throughout history. Be sure to scroll down into the show description so you can follow along with us. This is from bizjournals.com, and it is 5 lessons that football can teach entrepreneurs. We'll dive into a bit and then bring Shed back on. Diehard fans can provide you with hundreds of reasons why they think football is such a great sport, but this author would argue that football has qualities that transcend right to the gridiron. It can also serve as a playbook for anyone running or looking to start their own company. Here are 5 business lessons that entrepreneurs can learn from watching this season's elite professionals: leadership, work ethic, organization, flexibility, and passion. We'll dive into a few of these now. As the CEO of your startup, you are no different from the top quarterbacks in the NFL and D1 NCAA teams. Your company relies on you for direction and your ability to lead and execute. The article talks about University of Georgia quarterback Grayson Lambert. He recently completed an NCAA record 96% of his passes when this article was written that led the Bulldogs to win against South Carolina. Even under pressure, he demonstrated traits of a strong leader: consistency, patience, adaptability, communication, decisiveness, and confidence. It is these traits that allowed him to connect with his team so he could lead them to a win. As an entrepreneur, you must also lead and execute like a quarterback. You need a team or tools you can rely on to spearhead projects and manage processes with or without your direct instruction. I love that. Next, we'll talk about work ethic. You're an entrepreneur, so you can appreciate the amount of time and effort it takes for a football player to do their best on game day, to meet their goals, players condition, and train mentally and physically year-round, not only in the weeks leading up to preseason. Famed Green Bay Packers head coach Vince Lombardi said it best: perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. For athletes and entrepreneurs to chase perfection and chase excellence, they need to have the highest level of work ethic in order to beat their competition, retain clients, or provide excellent service. The article, like I said, talks about organization and flexibility, but I will touch on passion here again before bringing Shed back on. It is undeniable that collegiate and professional football players have gotten to where they are today because of the rare and unique passion for the sport that motivates them. Just like entrepreneurs, football players eat, sleep, and breathe their passion. Just watching their dedication, focus, and perseverance is inspiration enough. You know that you get what you give. Giving your all day in and day out to see your startup goal is realized is exactly why you become an entrepreneur. Passion is the thread that ties all of these lessons together, and no one understands this zeal quite like an entrepreneur. Your passion dared you to take a risk and venture out to your own, to move an idea from a thought to a full-fledged company. Know that the effort you're putting into your business is worth the risk and the reward because it is getting you one step closer each day. Yes, there are going to be days that you will want to hang up your gear and slam the locker closed, but when everything comes together and you're leading a successful, organized, and efficient operation, you'll look back and feel the same sense of pride that beams from the faces of the Super Bowl. Shed, we touched on a lot of things here that you even touched on briefly throughout your show today. What are some things that stuck out to you?
I would say the three things are the leadership, the work ethic, and passion. Starting with leadership, that's just something that, whether you're an athlete or entrepreneur, that builds your team, that builds your organization, and that's where it starts at. That's like the foundation. So like you said, if the quarterback is not where he needs to be mentally and physically, then the team is going to suffer. Yeah. That's arguably the biggest position on the field, and same thing for a CEO of a company. Work ethic, that's just something you have to have with everything. You have to know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're going to do it. And working at it all the time just gives you reps. When you get those reps, you may fail, but that failure a lot of times brings success. So that's a big thing. And then the passion. I'm big on passion because I feel like if you're doing something you're not passionate about, you're not going to put the work in at the end of the day. You're not going to come in every day and be like, oh, this isn't a job, this is something I love to do. So passion is big, and it takes you in the right direction, and just it lets you know that you're doing it for the right reasons, for sure.
I agree. If you're really not all into it, I don't believe there's a point of doing it. Life is too short to do that. If you follow your passions, everyone out there, whatever your heart leads you to, go after it and chase it. You found Shed's passion throughout this episode today. But before we let him go and find out where to find him online and more about Shed, if you can learn from any entrepreneur throughout history, Shed, dead or alive, who would you choose? And I decided to still ask you this question, even though we weren't full entrepreneurship today, because I do commend you for getting your college degree. I know how hard that is. While you're playing football, you finished up, so you do see the bright light at the end of the road. Who is someone you'd like to pick their brain?
Somebody that I would like to, sit down and kind of talk to and pick their brain would be Jay-Z, as a great entrepreneur. Somebody that I thought about starting on his Rockaware company. I used to wear that all the time when I was growing up, actually. So I'm familiar with the brand back in the day and his other business ventures. I just think he would be a credible example. Obviously, with him becoming a billionaire too, like not too many people can say that. So I think he would be a great kind of role model too, with myself being a young Black man, so he can relate. And yeah, I feel like he would be a great person to look up to in that aspect.
From the clothes, then he went to obviously rap music, title, music, streaming. I mean, he's got his hands in just about everything. Where would you choose to sit down with Jay-Z if you had the choice to pick that too?
If I want to sit down with Jay-Z, I'm trying to go out of the country, somewhere nice, somewhere with some scenery, get some good food, and have a great conversation and learn from one of the best.
Out of the country. I like that choice. Well, Shed, it's been a great episode so far. And here we are launching this show the day before the draft. Let everybody know where they can find you online.
Yes, sir. You can find me on Instagram at @ShedJackson_. You can find me on Twitter at ShedJackson11 and on my website at ShedrickJackson.com.
You heard that on Instagram. He's @ShedJackson_. And on Twitter, he's ShedJackson11. And with that, the show is at That Entrepreneur Show on all social media, except YouTube and Instagram. We were at Vincent A. Lancy on all networks. Thank you for tuning in to this bonus episode here on That Entrepreneur Show. Shed, wishing you the best of luck once again, and thank you for taking the time to come on the show.
Appreciate you, man. It was an honor. You have a great day.